Hello, I hope you're doing very well. So, there's been a load of discussion or drama on YouTube recently about the subject of YouTube music production, content creators or influencers being shills and taking money for kind of dodgy reviews, that kind of thing. Ben Jordan, Weaver Beats, and Red Means Recording have all made really good videos on the subject recently, which are well worth watching. Now, as a content creator, I don't really have a dog in that fight because my channel is so tiny that no one ever sends me anything, so I've never had to worry about it. But I do have some insights into that situation because I'm a journalist and I'm old, obviously, and I've lived and worked through the kind of period of societal change which has led us to this point with content creation and videos and things like that. So what I want to do is just describe to you really briefly how we've ended up at this situation we're in now, why it happened, and what I think is really the only way we can change it and make it better. So that's what we're going to talk about now. So I've been in publishing for about 25 years. And if we think back to mid 90s kind of time, magazines filled the special interest kind of function that YouTube does now. And what I mean by that is if you wanted to learn about music production or photography or anything like that, you would go to a store and buy a magazine. You'd physically pay for the magazine, then you'd open it up, and inside would be the editorial, the stories, or the reviews that you wanted to read, and alongside those would be adverts as well. And that arrangement allowed for two different income streams to flow into the publisher. There was the money you paid for the magazine and also the money that the advertisers would pay for as well. And that revenue coming in essentially paid for the upkeep of the magazine. And importantly, it paid for the salaries of the journalists as well. And that allowed the journalists to be impartial and to be transparent and to offer good, honest content. In fact, it didn't just allow it; it actually rewarded it because people bought specific magazines because they trusted the editorial that was being produced by it. So it encouraged people to buy that magazine, which in turn encouraged the journalists to keep doing good work. And because people were reading the magazine and enjoying it and valuing it, that's why advertisers were advertising it because they wanted their products to be seen next to this good editorial. So it was a symbiotic relationship and it worked for hundreds of years basically from the invention of the printing press up until the invention of the internet. That's how publishing worked. And then the internet came along and we reached a point where companies or brands knew they had to have a website, which was easy for the sort of company that sold products. So if sold cameras or hi-fis, things like that, it was easy. You just put all the products on the website and let people buy it from there. But the publishers didn't know what to do. They were confused by this situation, and in the end, they just decided to put their content from the magazine for free on the website. And at that time, there were no mobile devices, no phones or tablets. Laptops were crazy expensive. So the only way you could read this free content was to sit in front of a desktop computer with a crappy dial up modem. It wasn't a good experience, and very few people did it. And the publishing companies snoozed on that. They just let that run. And over a period of 10 or 15 years or so, technology progressed, laptops got cheaper, internet connections got faster, and the publishing companies didn't respond to this. They didn't change anything they were doing. And over time, more and more people started reading their content on their free content, I should say, on their websites rather than buying the magazines. And the publishers didn't see it coming. And then, of course, the iPhone came out, smartphone revolution, blah, 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 blah. And suddenly the audience swung completely from buying magazines to watching or reading this stuff for free on their websites. And it completely confused the publishing company. But more importantly, during that 10-year period of transition, it rewired our brains into thinking that content was supposed to be free. We weren't supposed to pay for it. We went from thinking that the norm was paying for the things that we wanted to read or watch or enjoy. and we transitioned to thinking they were supposed to be free. It was supposed to be ad funded. And that change was catastrophic because it didn't just apply to special interest magazines, it also applied to the news as well. And it devastated the publishing industry, and it put all of the power, it took the power away, or the reach or the influence away from professional, impartial journalists, and put all of the power into the hands of brands, big corporate brands, or basically anyone with money who was now able to control the narrative because they were the ones funding the publications or the websites, and they wouldn't fund those websites if the websites weren't saying things that they agreed with or they liked. And all of that leads us up to the situation where we are now. So the things we want as human beings and consumers haven't changed since 95 or 96. We still want good quality, impartial, independent journalism or content that will help us make good buying decisions. The thing that's changed is that we're no longer willing to pay for it. So we want this stuff. We want good content. We want kind of independent voices that aren't influenced by brands telling us how things are, but we won't pay for that. And if a content creator is trying to do that, there's absolutely no way for them to support themselves just by doing that. If you're thinking that YouTube revenue is a way to do that, I suppose it is, but you need 1 million subscribers and your videos need to get 100,000 views. It pays so little money that someone trying to dedicate themselves to making content of the sort that you want to watch can't really support themselves unless they reach out to brands or they forge relationships with brands, take sponsorship deals, take product placement. And when they do that, we shout at them for being shills, but we don't provide them with any other way or any other alternative to that relationship with the brands because we won't pay for content. So they're in a catch-22 situation. I know a lot of people out there want to make really good content, but how do they should get paid for it. They deserve to get paid for the time and effort and work they put into that. But if we won't pay them for it, their only option is to take money from brands, which inevitably changes the things that they can and can't say. And as I've said, we just shout at them, say you're a shill. We make reaction videos about them selling out. It doesn't solve anything. To my view, to my eye, having lived through this and seen this whole thing happen, the only way we can fix this situation is by supporting independent content creators, by literally paying for their content. And that sounds scary. It goes against what we're used to thinking these days. But I'm talking about, $5 or £5 a month to someone's Patreon, or the odd buy me a coffee donation, that kind of thing. Because when you do that, when you actually give some money to a creator, you physically take power away from the brands and you hand it to the creator because you're making it more easy for them to be independent. You're empowering them to do the thing that you want them to do. And then if enough people do that, then it becomes possible or more possible for them to support themselves doing it. And suddenly we end up in a situation, or not suddenly, it will take a while, in a situation where people are able to create the kind of content that they want to make and we want to watch without relying on money from advertising brands. And we can stop calling them shills. So if the current situation bugs you and you're annoyed by what you see as sellout content creators and influencers, the only people that can change it is us, ourselves. When you find someone that makes content that you like and you enjoy and you think is valuable, support them if you can. We need to rid ourselves of this mindset that content is supposed to be free. It's not. It's a creative thing, just like music or just like a book. If someone has made something that you value and you enjoy, they should be paid for it. And if we allow them to do that by funding them as their audience, they won't have to take money from brands and they won't have to be shills as we accuse them of being all the time. So it's really in our hands. If we want to fix this, it's in our power to do that. Find good content creators and support them financially via Patreon or whatever method that they've provided for us to do that. But sitting back and just saying, oh, these guys are all shills, are all sellouts, that doesn't fix anything. If we want to fix it, we've got to do it ourselves. So that's my thoughts on the subject. I have no idea if anyone will even watch this, let alone find it interesting or informative, but I hope they do. And as ever, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, bye.